Now I look back on as like a dark night of the soul moment. It felt like everything in my life had just crumbled at the same time. I got very depressed. I was suicidal. I remember still being in my sister's apartment where I was like literally sleeping in her storage room on a mattress on the floor because I couldn't bear to go back home. And I remember looking out at her balcony and thinking like, honestly, the best thing I could do for everyone, not just for myself, was just to jump off. That would be the kindest, most generous thing I can do for my family, is to stop being a burden to them. Fortunately, my sister saved my life because she did not give up on me and she just refused to give up on me. And I didn't want to let her down. So that was my turning point. And that was the start of me realizing that, okay, the surface level is not enough. Like something underneath it has got to change. Hey, and welcome back to Big Agent Energy. You know, today's episode is going to be a little bit different because instead of me interviewing somebody who is usually a guest on the show, who are usually our leaders, our, ceiling breakers, everything like that, I feel like I wouldn't mind sharing a little bit more of my story and who I am, especially for those who have been following the show for a while. There's a chance that you have wondered this, like, who is this guy and why is he doing this? Why does he talk about these topics? Why does he seem so obsessed with psychology and inner work? And what does it have to do with Asians? And who is John? And I realized, having heard some feedback from our listeners, thank you so much for those who have asked these questions and reached out and have these explorations, that, I think it's time for us to reveal a little bit more about the journey that has led to this moment. And to do that, I've actually invited a really good friend so that I could get out of the host seat and pass that over to him. I've invited my good friend Leo Shah. For those who don't know, Leo is an incredible voice in the Asian American industry, and he is the founder of Proud Asian Men, which is an Asian American men's group, and which is part of the Asian Mental Health Project. Right? Is that right? Okay. Yeah. And Leo is going to just, interview me. And I'm going to share as candidly as I can all the parts of my own journey of how I got into this work and why I ended up writing a book that, is all about the Asian American experience. So, yeah, I'm going to pass the mic over to you, Leo.
Yeah, thank you for having me, John. It's an honor to be here, and hopefully I ask the questions that everyone is on everyone's minds, because I certainly have many questions about John. I haven't known him that long, so sometimes I need to stop and realize, man, there's so many details I want to get into here. But the question that comes to mind first was, John, when you think back to 15-year-old John, what was motivating him? Because I think about,
oh man,
I find when people eventually find this path to like, I want to serve, I want to create beautiful things, I want to create connection, vulnerability, but there's often like this darkness that sometimes people don't talk about, right? There's that valley of shadows, so to speak. So not that you need to go right into the depth of the shadows, but I'm curious, like, what in adolescent John, like what began his journey?
I'm like, of course Leo is going to ask me about my childhood. That was like the most Leo question ever. No, absolutely. Let's jump into it. So this is something that you might not be aware of because I don't share it that often. And it's so interesting how it is that we don't always, we don't always have the opportunity to dive deeper into our friends' past until we have a chance to talk about this. So 15-year-old John was growing up with a really interesting childhood. So my mom is, before we immigrated here, she was a author, radio show host. She was kind of like the Oprah of Taiwan for her time. She had like a TV show, a radio show host. She wrote multiple books, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll share why it's relevant. So when basically the reason why we immigrated over to North America was when I was, I think, about like 5 or 6 years old, paparazzi started showing up at my sister and our schools and taking pictures of us. And the day that my mom found out about that, she was like, nope. And then she like literally ended her incredibly successful career at that point. Like she had won like top 10 most successful women of Taiwan award, I think, around that time. And then she just completely uprooted and moved here to go entirely anonymous. And so 15-year-old John during that time, I think was driven very much by the idea that he needed to make up for his mom's sacrifice.
Oh man, I was just gonna
And
ask about
that was
that. Yeah.
never outspoken. Like that was never a thing in my family. It wasn't like my mom ever. Well, that's not true. My mom definitely said that. Like, look at how much I've sacrificed for you.
Yeah.
Go practice piano.
Yeah.
We definitely have those kind of
Oh, yeah.
conversations. But I think there was something also underneath as well. It doesn't really matter. I think a lot of people I talk to who are Asian American, like even if like their parents weren't necessarily saying things like, oh, this is what I sacrificed for you. We felt it, right? We felt that. So there was two things. I mean, one, my mom was very much like the traditional Asian mom of like, you got to go to university, like go be a doctor or a lawyer. And there was a sense that like whatever I had to do, I needed to make sure I was making up for it. So I was an obsessive reader when I was a kid. Like my parents didn't buy me a TV. They didn't buy video games. They like until like I was grade 12, and then they bought a Dance Dance Revolution game because they thought that was gonna help me get more fit. But aside from that, basically they bought me unlimited, like all the books that I want. That was an incredible privilege that I had. I was very, very lucky because my mom was like, I won't buy you video games or computers or TV, but I will buy you whatever books you want. And for whatever reason, I was obsessed with self-help and self-development books. Like
At 15.
At 15, I was like,
wow,
all my friends were reading like manga about like basketball players and like watching like Dragon Ball Z. And there was me in the corner reading The Art of War. I wish I was joking.
Amazing.
Chinese books on communication skills, English books like How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I think like I was really driven by that idea. So yeah, at 15, that was, if you met me at 15, it was me trying very awkward. I was very socially awkward. I was super shy, very quiet, very shy, and trying to find my place in the world, and doing so through either English and Chinese literature. I love poetry, and through self-help books.
At the time when you were the 15-year-old John, like reading these books, did it feel like all right, I need to get all these skills up so I can reach my human potential, so I can make up for what my mom sacrificed for me? Or did it, like, in the moment, just feel like I just love this? This is what I crave.
I think at the time I just wanted friends, to be honest. Like if I was being very brutally honest with myself, like I think I was a lonely kid. I didn't really quite feel like I belonged with the white kids, and I didn't really feel like I belonged with like the Asian kids. I grown up in a very Asian community that didn't become Asian until a few years that I've lived there. So like I was like one of two non-Asian kids in my entire school. I was like, everyone else was white, and there was like me and my sister and like at the time like my best friend, and because he was the only other Asian kid in the class. And then a few years later, the Hong Kong reunification was happening. This was around 97. And then a bunch of people immigrated. And then my entire school became flooded with fresh, what we called back then, it's not okay to say now, but like fresh off the plane Asian kids. And I couldn't relate to them, and I couldn't relate to the white kids. So I think I read those books because I wanted to learn how to communicate better, to make friends, and also to succeed, whatever that meant to 15-year-old John.
I kind of want to ask, like, as you're reading these books, like, was there a profound moment of connection in high school? Because I mean, high school can be such a weird time for people, where people are figuring themselves out, all this awkward communication stuff. Was there a spark of a moment where you're like, oh, I didn't expect to get along with this person, but we had a beautiful human moment? You know what?
So after I read all these books, learning how to make friends, learning how to communicate, learning how to, like understand the complexities of all this, I became actually very popular. And you would think that then my answer will be, yeah, there were these really deep, profound moments. But the truth is that when I say I was very popular, the reality is I seemed very popular. Because what I was actually doing was I learned how to build very superficial relationships with people. I learned how to laugh and smile and perform and get along. And that was my chameleon side coming out. And that was who I thought I needed to be, was being this like performative, jokey kind of guy. And so all throughout, like after I read these books and like learned these quote unquote social skills, what ended up happening was that I would just float from group to group to group, but I was never actually good at staying in one place and getting to know someone, because I was really terrified of letting people actually getting to know me, the real me. Because the story I always had was that like I'm performing, and that's what makes me finally able to get friends. And so if people actually ever got to know the real me, they would find out, be disappointed, and ultimately leave, because they would see how awkward and weird and socially awkward I really was. Like these days I joke like I'm a recovering socially awkward person who just now accepted that I'm just going to be socially awkward. Like that's the difference. Like, that's the real secret to that. Yes, I think back then I had a few connections. One, they were always with people of the opposite sex. And that those were the only, like they were women who I would let in. But aside from that, I actually didn't let a lot of people in, not truly anyway.
And how did that take you into college? So like, did you leave high school still feeling like the chameleon very much intact?
Yeah, absolutely. I had, like I said, I had developed all these communication skills and like social skills, but I didn't really know how to deal with any deeper. So like when I was in high school, like I became, vice president of my school, student council, and I would literally run from student council meetings to the smoke pit, where I would pretend to smoke so I could hang out with the bad kids. Like that was my kind of life. I was eager to look for acceptance anywhere, and it would make no sense. And I took that into college. I joined like a fraternity, like I met some new people, but everywhere I stayed was the same thing. I would stay there for a short enough time that I would be connected, and not a long enough time that I would be known. And it wasn't until much later that I went into the quote unquote the real world, into my workforce, that I started realizing that I was actually, like, all of these things that I had learned that I thought was helping me was actually creating a lot of very deep patterns of self-abandonment, and that ended up leaving my own sense of self very much diminished.
I have to ask the men's work question here. How did that affect you in romantic relationships?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about when you're a performer, right? Like that's the thing about learning how to be more social through performing an identity, is that when you put on that mask and you get really good on putting on that mask, the longer you put it on, the more dangerous it becomes to take it off. And so for me, that meant that I couldn't stay in relationships.
Oh, wow.
So, because once you stay in a relationship long enough, eventually people see your vulnerabilities. People, like, you have to take off your mask at some point, because it's so exhausting. And I literally will remember going to parties, and like halfway through the party, I would like have this big smiling, like performative self, and like cheerful, and like everyone, yeah, like life of the party. And I would go to the bathroom, and I would literally sit on the toilet, like in a stall, with my hands covering my face, because I was so exhausted. And that was what every relationship felt like.
Oh.
And I was, by the way, I was really good. I was very good at relationships.
Of course.
Very bad at real relationships, but very good at dating. That was actually one of my first real experiences later on. I could, the running joke was I could pick up any girl. That was, and I would go, and I got over my social anxiety by doing 1,000 approaches, and met people, and like it was back when you would still go up to people, and it's still normal to ask them for their phone numbers, right. And then call people on the phone back in the day. This amazing technology that they had, and so I would constantly be dating. And I would date so many different, I was a serial dater, right? I would date multiple, different people, and I would constantly be dating, but they very rarely will last more than a few months, because again, you can only put up a performance for a few months before you have to actually start going to something real. And I was terrified of anything real.
What was what was the turning point there? Because obviously I see your life now, and how
Yeah.
you talk about relationships now. I imagine there's a turning point of like,
there's definitely a turning point. Yeah. Well, I'm married now. And don't tell my wife this. I'm still pretending to be someone. No, I'm just joking. No. We have, honestly, my wife and I's relationship is easily the best relationship ever been in. By far, it's the first time I ever felt unconditional love. But yeah, before that point, so I was actually in a pretty long relationship at one point, like a 10-year long relationship, with a partner who was, for the first time, I actually could feel like I could let her in. And it wasn't because I was suddenly accepting of who I was that I realized that there was a self-acceptance. Because for you to truly let other people in, you have to let yourself in. And that's something a lot of people don't think about or realize. It's why it is that the whole the self-love movement, I have so many issues around it, because it presupposes that we could just snap our fingers and accept who we are. But most of the time, the reason that we don't let other people get close to love us is because we haven't come to accept, forgive, and love ourselves yet. So I was carrying all this deep internal resentment and judgment for myself that I never really realized, because it was just like, on the surface, like self-judgment actually doesn't look like loss of self-worth. It can also look like almost like narcissistic self-love. Like that you put on a mask to yourself that you're so great that you don't let yourself get close to seeing who you really are. And so we were in a long time, like basically a codependent relationship, because we kind of enabled each other's screwed upness. And for those who aren't familiar with the word codependency, what that basically looks like is I was always running away, because I was super avoidant, and she would always then have some kind of crisis, and then I would come back to rescue her. So then I would feel like I have worth again, because then I could keep proving myself, right? It's this rescue or victim pattern that we keep playing out. So for 10 years, we were in what we thought was love. And it was love in some ways, but it just wasn't the healthiest form. And at the end of that 10-year relationship, when everything really fell apart, basically I went through what, now I look back on as like a dark night of the soul moment. So I was so high strung performing in every area. And when I say performing, I mean like putting on a performance in my business. I run at that point I had already built an education business that was very successful. Like, we had, a 2-year long wait list for students. It was basically a tutoring business. We helped students get into top schools. It was a 2-year long wait list. People were literally banging down my door trying to, pay us more money. And we were expanding it. It was incredible. We were one of the top boutique education business in the city. But internally, I was depressed. I was miserable. I was constantly feeling hollow. I was like secretly, sneaking out in the middle of the night to go and smoke on my rooftop, because that was the only way that that was the only place that I could feel like I was connected to myself. But on the surface, I was doing amazing. We're traveling around they're traveling around the world, flying first class, going to 5-star hotels, and doing all the, living out of a penthouse and all these kind of things. And then basically 1 year, I think some degrees, we just kind of both realized that it was like this wasn't working. We were having more and more fights. And then one day I came home and she was gone. She was gone. She took the dog. She took, a lot of the stuff and all of her things. And I won't dive too deeply into it, but basically I got super depressed after that. Like I went through that was my dark night of the soul moment. It was like when it felt like everything in my life had just crumbled at the same time. I got very depressed. I was, I was suicidal. I remember still being in my sister's apartment where I was like literally sleeping in her storage room on a mattress on the floor because I couldn't bear to go back home. And I remember looking out at her balcony and thinking like, honestly, the best thing I could do for everyone, not just for myself, was just to jump off. Like that would be the kindest, most generous thing I can do for my family, is to stop being a burden to them.
Mm.
Um, fortunately, my sister
Yeah,
saved my
wow.
life because
Okay.
she did not give up on me, and she just refused to give up on me. And I didn't want to let her down because she was my older sister. So I actually decided not to end my own life because I was like, I didn't want to let her down.
Mm.
So that was my turning point. And that was the start of me realizing that, okay, the surface level is not enough. Like something underneath it has got to change.
Mm. It's really, thank you for sharing the story, by the way. Yeah, such a vulnerable story.
Hey, I just wanted to let you know that Big Asian Energy is officially out, and you can go and pick it up anywhere you buy books, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, etc. If you've ever felt like there's something stopping you from reaching your full potential, if you've ever felt like you want to have that unstoppable charisma and confidence in the work that you do, as well as just the way you show up in life, this might be the book for you. It is a book that is jam-packed with research studies, advice, case studies, stories, and of course, so many different techniques and takeaways, including communication, as well as mindset, as well as confidence, and all the other topics out there. It just won one of the best books of 2025 on Amazon. So if you haven't checked it out yet, go take a look. And finally, if you have a few seconds, can I also ask you to leave a quick review for Big Asian Energy? It not only means the world to us to hear from you, but more importantly, it does absolutely help us in reaching more audiences. I hope you're having an amazing day, and thanks again.
Actually, listening to your podcast, Sun Yi talking about most people aren't willing to talk about their villain stories or like the truly messy parts of their stories. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. A lot is very personally resonant for me. So thank you.
Yeah, I think it's the first time I ever shared that on the show as well.
Really? I was like,
yeah.
That's a beautiful part of your story.
Don't talk about it much. Mm-hmm.
It's it's so interesting to me, right? Because it seems like, you let me know if this assessment is wrong, where maybe the ingestion of all this personal development content, books and stuff, it actually helped supercharge the mask, like at the time before the Dark Night of the Soul, as you're talking about it. What were you seeking then after the Dark Night of the Soul? Like, what were the realizations you were having? Like, was that the kickstart to move into more inner work?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there was two, essentially, if I look back at the time, it was a big shift, right? Because up until then, I've been doing a lot of, quote unquote inner work at that point, right? A lot of self-help stuff, but it was always about performance, right? So it's all about like, if I went to Tony Robbins seminars because I want to learn how to be a better persuader. If I went to a workshop, it was because I wanted to learn how to put on a better mask. And suddenly I realized, like, I was like, wow, this is a system that I thought was working, but in fact, it was actually killing me on the inside. And not only that, but it was actually making me less capable. Because I look back, I'm like, there were so many moments, even in my work and my business, that I held myself back so that I could keep protecting the mask.
Oh, okay.
And that's something people don't think about. A lot of times people like hear this type of work and they think, oh, well, like, that sounds great. Like, okay, great. You hustled and you put on a mask for a few years and that got you, more money or whatever it is. And now you can take it off and you can do the work. But what they don't realize is that it's actually the opposite, is that the mask is what keeps you from living up to your potential. So what I went through was, after that is one, my brother-in-law, who was running a men's group at the time, was like, you need to come into my men's group because you're falling apart. Your life's a mess, dude. Like, if you're part of this group, we would have called it out a long time ago that you need to be out of this relationship.
Did he say it like that too? Hey, you're kind of messed up, dude. Like, come
He's
on.
Very tough love kind of guy. He's like big dude, like 20-year bodybuilder. He's got like a big, like very strong edge, masculine energy. Just like, come on, like we got to toughen you up. And I'm like, fine. And so I went to this group and every week we'd meet and we sit there, in a circle and people would talk about their life. And I gotta be honest, I judge the shit out of everyone there. Like, and I judge myself harder, by the way, of course, because I was always judging myself. But I was also like, inner work is dumb. Like, why do people do this?
It's a waste of time.
this is such a dumb thing. Like, really, you pay money to be in here and talk about your feelings? Like, why? Like, why? And I judge myself for being there. I'm like, why am I so weak? Like, I wish I was stronger, that I didn't need to do this. The irony, right? And then I think one day, I think my brother-in-law was just like, you've been sitting there for, he was the captain of the group, and he was like, you've been sitting there for like 2 months now, like 2-3 months now. You haven't really shared. Today's your time. Go share. And I was like, fine, this is what I went through, and this is what I'm going through. I'm going through a breakup, and yada, yada, yada. And like, I have a lot of judgment around that internally, because I was like, again, my story to myself is I was weak. I should have hadn't handled this. And it was this really interesting experience. He's just like, okay, keep talking. And the more I talked about what I was going through, the more judgmental I felt about myself, the more angry I got. And the more angry I got, like, you can come out. I'm like, I kept saying like, I don't even know why I'm here. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm not going through anything. I don't know why. Yeah. Like, no, like, yes, I'm going through a breakup, but it's okay. Like, I got this. I can take care of myself. I'm fine. And he's like, okay, sure. You're fine, buddy. All right, sure. Stand up. And then I'm standing up, and he was like, all right. He's like, he picked this other guy in the group who's like this big dude, and he's like, lock hands with this guy. And which is like, put it, like, imagine you're high tanning somebody. Do people still do that? Give someone 10.
I hope so.
2 hands up, right? And he had me like pushed against this guy, and he's like, keep telling him you're fine until he believes it.
Holy shit. Okay. Yeah.
And I'm like, and I didn't even know what was coming out for me at that point, because I just felt like I was seeing red. And I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I just kept yelling. I started yelling and yelling. And then suddenly something cracked. And I literally just, I don't know what it was. And I just started crying. And it was the first time I had cried between then and the last time I cried. I think I was like a teenager at my grandmother's funeral. And I had not been able to cry since then. I had not really had any deeper emotions since then. I suddenly had a breakthrough. I had a breakdown. And as they say, like, the breakdown is what starts the breakthrough. So I had a breakdown, and I just felt like everything started pouring out. And I was just like, I'm not fine. I've just been holding this entire time. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to handle this. I just felt empty at the same time, as well as like letting all this pour out. And then all the other people in the room, they came around and they put their hand on my back. Oof. And they gave it this big group hug. And I just remember sobbing into somebody's shirt. And I remember sobbing into and thinking like, oh my God, I'm going to dirty this guy's shirt. But they didn't mind. They didn't even let me kind of pull back. They just like, stay in it.
Wow.
And I just felt like there was this sudden release. And the next morning, I have never felt so clear and so grounded in my entire life. And it was one of those moments where you're like, it's hard to describe to somebody who's never been through it, but it's just like, you just find this utter like lightness. It feels like this whole thing that you've been holding on to for all these years just released. And not only that, but like, I just started finding clarity of all the areas. I was like, oh my gosh, like I see where I have not been allowing myself to see. I see the ways that I've been holding back. I see the ways that I've actually diminished myself, the self-sabotaging patterns, right? The ways I was giving myself my energy away unnecessarily. Wow. And that was really a big turning point. I think there was about 3 to 4 big kind of like most pivotal moments that I went through in my life, including one time where I literally fell over and like had an ulcer from my burnout. But that was one of the moments where I was like, okay, there's something much deeper here that needed to be excavated. So that was the start, I think, of me going, okay, I'm going to dive deeper into where this all goes. And it's not just about healing. It's really, for me, about unlocking.
And I'm curious about the timeline from here. So from this, a shattering, right? Something shattered so we could put the pieces together in a different way. What was that timeline like from there? Like, did you join a men's group for an extended time? And then I know you found Awakened Dragons eventually. Like, how did those pieces eventually fit together? Like, was that part of your clarity too, when you had the shattering of like, oh, like maybe if I can feel this, I can serve other people to find this journey towards that feeling themselves as well?
I mean, eventually, yes. I mean, I went through from that was 2016. Now it's 2026. So it's been 10 years. So I would say there was several years before then, before I even started to decide to like, I wanted to get trained and certified and actually like learn how to give this work to others. It's the same type of medicine to other people. I call it medicine, of course. It's not real medicine in the sense like it's not medical. But for me, I went through a lot of other things. So like, I actually recently went through my like did the last 10 years of journaling, and I realized how many different things that I've tried. I went through 19 different modalities, which are like
That's a lot of them.
Modalities are like different types. A lot of people don't even think of like when we talk about healing work, like inner work, there's actually so many different types. It's kind of like if somebody says, I want to get fit, like people will ask like, well, what kind of fit do you want to get? Like, do you want to do cardiovascular work? Do you want to do functional work? Do you want to do stretching? Do you want to do like weightlifting? Do you want to, getting fit might be like swimming. Like there's so many different things you can work on in so many different areas. And when I first discovered that, I just remember sitting there looking at it like it was some kind of like a menu of human upgrades. Like imagine somebody giving you a menu is like, how do you want to unlock your human potential today? Like, do you want to unlock the parts in your mind that is always noisy and like chattering at you? And do you want to make that go away? Like silence your inner critic? Or like, do you want to like completely rework that relationship that you've had in your body, like to your body with like your inner child? Or like, do you want to learn how to essentially like unlock your creativity through breathing and breath work? Like, I wish somebody would have told me earlier that there's so many of these things that are basically physical experiences and exercises that unlock so many parts of your brain. But the most core part of it really was understanding that our systems are all interconnected, right? So like we think of it as we have a mind, like, oh, I want to do mental psychology work that'll make me smarter and make me like be able to solve problems better and be more decisive. And then they'll think of like their mental, like emotional body, like they'll think about, oh, I also feel anxiety and I need to go and cure that. Like they think of it as different, but it's all interconnected. It's all the same systems. So that was a very long way to answer your question. But essentially I went through probably about, like nine years worth of like 19 different modalities and trying different things. I recently did a calculation. It was over $100,000 I spent on this. It was nuts. Between therapy and all the self-development work, I think I spent about $250K. It was nuts.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of that before I ended up starting to actually support others in it and becoming a coach and creating my own events.
I wanted to actually back up a second because I think I wanted to go back to the scene with the men's group, right? Because a lot of what I encounter in my men's group work is that it's hard for men to trust other men.
Oh man, yeah.
Even on a surface level,
so hard.
Like to ask for a favor, much less to cry in front of them and allow them, to support you in that moment. What was that process like for you?
It is very easy for men to sacrifice themselves to help other men. It is very hard for men to accept help from other men. So I think that's where the distrust comes from. Like most of the time I find that the men who actually could use the most help are the ones who are most eager to go and rescue and support everyone else. They're usually the ones with their hand up the first when they say like, I will go and help anyone around you. Because that's oftentimes that pattern of I need to be useful in order to be accepted. So I do think that there's that difference, but 100%. Yeah. I had a lot of trust issues with other men because I always grew up feeling like I was supposed to compete against them. Like people don't talk about this, right? Like women are more conditioned to socialize with each other. Like it is more normal. Like I sometimes see my wife go off into the bathroom with her female friends and I'm always like, how do you guys do that? Like men, we don't have that relationship. Like I have personally, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I have personally never had a friend say, yo, bro, I'm going to the bathroom. Want to come? Like I've just never had that experience before.
Right. I don't need to pee. I don't care. Let's go. Let's kick it over there, in the urinals. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a rule, right? The rule is you don't talk to each other at the urinals, and you stand at least one urinal apart if possible.
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, there was definitely there was a lot of like that's what I was describing. I think early on when I was in that first men's group, and there was this kind of like I don't know how to relate to other men because if I'm not competing against them, I feel like they're sizing me up. And that's how men have been kind of socialized to do. We kind of size each other up, right? Like, and how much money do you make? What kind of car do you drive? Where should I position you? But we don't realize that we do that instinctively as a protective mechanism. Because what we're really actually underneath it is, should I assess you to be above me in terms of your wealth, strength, power, social status, whatever it is, so that I need to prove myself so you accept me? Or if I see you as lower, then I could offer you support in order to bring you in, right? There's this a little bit of like, you see this men when we first meet, there's a little bit of that comparison that happens. Yeah. It's not conscious and it's never something that like we do because we want to judge, but it's almost self-protective. Like, where are we at? Do we fit in with each other? And how do I hierarchically align myself with you? And I think that's almost evolutionary, right? Like that's just what we do. So yeah, there was a lot of distrust. There's a distrust that if I let men in and see me while I'm going through help, that they wouldn't judge me or one day use that against me.
That's a deeper level of trust, right? The vulnerability of I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to reveal something about myself to you that if you so chose to, you could severely hurt me with. Yeah,
100%. And I think, because I do communications coaching as well as like inner work coaching, even though I think it's all inner work, like all work is inner work. You'd be surprised at how often I get the people coming to me and the first thing that they ask me is like, I want to learn how to read people. And my first question is always, and I have an answer usually in the back of my head of why I think they're asking that question. I always ask is like, why? Like, what are you trying to get to? And the answer is always, I want to agree to your intentions because I don't want to get hurt, right? But there's this like deep, like, I need to know how to read people. Like this is almost with all of my Asian, not all, but I would say like a good 60, 70%. That's their real intention is I want to learn how to read people and like dive deeper to understand them. Not because I want to control them, but because then I can be protected. However, the true answer to that is like, you'll never be protected because it has nothing to do with them. It like the only way you can achieve freedom and true protection, true safety of being judged by others is when you stop judging yourself. People can only use your judgment against you. They can never, like, other people's judgment of you actually does not matter at all. Like, we actually don't care. There's like one of my friends, he wrote a book called, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. Huge bestseller if you haven't read it yet. Amazing book. He's also a super smart guy. And what I really loved about the core idea behind that is that like, the truth is we actually don't care what other people think of us. What we're really afraid of is that what they're going to reflect back to us is the thing we're most afraid of seeing in ourselves. So the greatest superpower, and you probably have kind of figured this part out, the greatest secret superpower, super weapon that we all have is when we come to say, I truly am okay with all of my imperfections, you feel unstoppable. Like you feel invincible.
Yeah.
It is incredible. You start being able to walk into a room. A lot of people are like, you just seem so confident. I'm like, my confidence comes from the fact that I am really imperfect and I'm really okay with it. Because then you can walk into a room being like, I know who I am. I know who I'm not. I know my flaws and I'm okay with it. So you can say whatever you say to me and it would just bounce off my back because like, yeah, okay, so what? I know that.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
You have no fear left. It is that's the true superpower. But I think,
Yeah, my psychology teacher would tell me the story of he calls it like a test of beliefs, that you yell "Hey asshole" into a crowd of people. The people that turn their heads have a belief about themselves being an asshole.
That's a good
Because
one.
everyone else is like, oh, guess
Yeah.
there's an asshole somewhere in the room. Couldn't
Yeah.
be me.
Yeah. It can't be me.
Yeah.
When you hear a honk and you're just like,
Exactly.
who are they honking at? It's never like, oh, someone honking at me.
Right. Like I must be doing something wrong. So
100%. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I think
Mhm.
yeah, to me, like what you're talking about is, I've been talking about this in my groups. It's the end game of inner work. It's not the performance of transformation of inner work. It's that you feel different, right? I tell my guys, like, I want you to sleep better at night. So my teacher would say, like, the best way to know what someone's going through or like trying to solve in their life is like, what do you think about before you fall asleep at night? When you put your phone away, when you're staring up at the ceiling. So that's what I tell my guys. It's like, the goal for you is to have just a better, like, physical, spiritual experience of life. And it sounds like you did a lot of work to arrive at that, to untangle it, to tackle it.
Yeah. I mean, I've done my share, I say, in different modalities, in different ways, but it always goes to the same core wounding, right? Like, if we really trace everything down, it's actually extremely simple. We have two primary human engines, right? Moving towards pleasure and moving away from pain. And most of us are actually hyper-indexed and over-indexed on pain avoidance. We use pain avoidance to motivate, us getting up. Why you go to job? Because I don't want to starve. I don't want to not have money, right? It's a fear-based thing. And there's logic to it, sure. But you'd be surprised at how many times we make decisions in our lives that actually go against what we want because our fear of pain gets us there. Like a super simple version of this is just procrastination. Procrastination is the least logical thing. Like, we know what there is to do strategically. We have come up with it. We know the answer. Why are we not doing the thing? Why are we not writing the answer down? Oh, because there's a hidden fear. Like, a lot of people don't realize, like, one of the most basic foundations when I talk to people and they're like, I've been procrastinating this thing. And I'm always like, procrastination is fear. What's the fear? And they'll like see and identify the fear and they'll have this breakthrough. And I'm like, John, I came back. I did this thing. I wrote this email. It went amazing. And like, I got this promotion and I got these things. And I'm like, yeah, because you let go of the fear. And really, like, it is the like inner mastery of ourselves. Like, I call my academy Mastery Academy because it's about self-mastery. It's when we master our inner world, we become masters of our outer world, right? We unlock our mental capacity to do and say and be the person we know we can be when we've reached a level of mastery over our inner world. And by the way, I say mastery, but the truth is we'll never really quite reach it, like 100%, because we are always evolving. So we can get to like 90% mastery at any point, but the goal is to realize also that mastery is to accept that we're always going to be 10% imperfect, 10% unmastered. So that's the end goal of everything we do. You want to make be a multimillionaire, reach inner mastery. You want to have the relationship and love that you want. It isn't about meeting someone perfect who will solve your problems. It is about you knowing how to master your own inner world and your own inner struggles so that you can build a better relationship. You want to go and be a person of mission and purpose and make an impact. You can't do that until you've mastered your own inner world. So like everything we do is about that inner mastery.
I have a big question for you. I'm very excited to ask this question. I love that we got to frame your journey, right, all the way from 15-year-old John, trying to figure himself out, solving these problems, trying all these different modalities. At this point in life, after all the work you've done on yourself and you've helped others go through, what are you still excited about at this point? Like, what do you look forward to? And we're talking about we're never going to quite master it. Life is a process of. What are you excited to be in process of at this moment in your life?
You know, that's a really great question because like these days I actually wake up super excited. Like
Mm,
like my morning
amazing.
everyone always like, what's your morning routine? I'm like, my morning routine is I wake up at 5 a.m. like naturally without an alarm clock. Sometimes at like 4:30 in the morning, like I'm up. My wife's still in bed, and the first thing I want to come out here is I just want to come out here and write and create and do work. Like to me, like
Wow.
work is my joy. Like work is what like makes me super happy to do it. And then yeah, I'll go do like my walk and I'll do like my morning, meditation or whatever the hell. But like really the core of it is like when you start seeing and going through this type of work, all you want to do is you just want to share it. It's almost impossible
Mm,
not to, because you start seeing in other people what it is that you've experienced, and you realize, wow, like you could support other people with it. And that's why it is that I'm like, there's 4 stages that of the work that we've mapped out, like as part of Mastery Academy, is like kind of growth stages. And the fourth and final stage is always legacy. Because when you
mm,
reach the point where you're like, okay, I've like mastered this area of my life, all you want to do now is how can I scale this exponentially and reach more people? And by the way, I'm going to take this opportunity. I'm going to do a plug here, if that's okay, because
yeah.
this is actually like something that I'm super excited to announce, which is like in June. Leo, you, me, and 2 other amazing facilitators, we're actually doing our first live event together, diving into this particular type of work. So that's all I'm going to say. It's not going to be a sales pitch. If you want to find out more, I'll put a link somewhere in our show notes. But this is part of the thing that obviously I'm really excited for, is how do we bring this work to more people, especially folks who are Asian American or identify as Asian American, because personally I think that there's some deeper, I would say cultural conditioning that adds more layers of complexity into this. And so far in all of the workshops, all of the retreats that I have done, I have never yet seen one that is made just for us. And that's something I'm really genuinely excited about. This is not just a pitch. I'm genuinely very excited for. I'm like, if we get to create this and get to bring it to more people, like that is really why we're here. I think we're here always to make a contribution to the world that we live in.
Mm. What's going to be different about this retreat to you? Because you've experienced so much. You've invested so much money. You've seen all these things. Tried. Like, what are you excited to like synthesize for this retreat that's going to be different than what you've experienced before? Maybe not just different, but like that builds upon.
So I'll say this. I mean, I've actually I've done many retreats before, of different types. I've held like leadership retreats. I've held, public speaking retreats. I've held training workshops for communication and, those like really important soft skills and those kind of things. And also like the deeper inner work stuff. But I think this is the deepest one that we've ever planned. And it's like something that I think is what is so incredible is there are so many different modalities I've always wanted to kind of put into the work that I do, but it's just not something that I've been personally certified in or have that experience in. Like what I'm really good at, of course, is, like the pattern work that I do with people, because that's something I created. So like I'm most confident about that. Is the 7 patterns. By the way, if you don't know what the 7 patterns is, I'm also going to put a link in our show notes. So if you're like listening to this and you're like, this doesn't sound totally crazy, check out the 7 patterns quiz. And it might reveal a little bit something about yourself and the ways in which you might show up in your life. But so yeah, that's my, pattern work and identifying the patterns that keep us back is my area of expertise. But this time around, I get it, like we have a incredible breathwork facilitator who again works with Asian Americans, specifically in her past events. Like she has that experience. That's very cool. We have you, Leo, who does Asian American men's work. Like we're bringing in this is like the Avengers of Asian American training is how I feel. Like we're bringing in, like we have an ex-monk, Colin, who's coming in. Like the different modalities that we get to work in this kind of space is genuinely like, I am excited just to be in the room and to learn even as part of that. Like, yes, I'm also going to be teaching and doing work with people, but like, even that is super exciting to me. Like, how often do you get to have not just one facilitator, but 4 facilitators specifically who emphasize and work with, people of Asian American heritage and identities?
Yeah, and I want to shout out the Asian women in our communities that have been supporting the both of us as we do Asian men's work. And at least for me, I'm sure on your end too, they've been like, when do we get to be a part of it as well? So that's why it's exciting to me as well. The first like Asian healing co-ed retreat that I've been personally blessed to organize. So thank you, John. Mm-hmm. What a bringing of forces together.
Yeah, it is. Like, I'm grateful, to be honest. Like, there's something I'm really grateful for. We just don't get a lot of chances to do it, right? Like this kind of deeper work that, we get to create and share. And to me, it's not like, I don't see it as like, oh, we're doing this to like teach other people. But to me, it's like, we're getting to create a space where we're also a community. And I think that's something that's really important that we don't see. See, in Western cultures, a lot of times when I go to these retreats, like, it's very individualistic. Like, everyone is there just for, like, I'm here because I'm trying to break through these like patterns that I have, and I'm trying to up level my mindset and my, inner game. And so that I could show up tomorrow as a better leader. Great. But I feel like with Asian communities, like, there's a deeper level of like, we've got each other's backs. And that is huge. Like, I don't think people realize how powerful it is to be in a room. Like, if you're not, maybe you're not a minority, or maybe you're not somebody who's ever experienced what it's like to be like the only person, the only Asian, the only woman, whatever it is in the room, where you kind of have to like either put on that mask or like prove yourself. It is a very different feeling to be in a space where everyone else not only like gets what that experience is like, but sees you as a true like belonging, like part of them. And that feeling of like we have each other's backs, I think, is in and of itself such a powerful event.
Yeah, I actually I don't think I've been able to share this with you, John, but like one of the experiences I had in college, it was we call it an Asian American crash course. So 7 weeks, like 7 weeks of small groups, but it culminates in a big like 2-day retreat. We all go to this hotel conference room, and it was big. It was like 150 USC Asian students, co-ed. And that was actually my inspiration for Proud Asian Men, because that was my first time seeing Asian people cry in front of each other. Like, we had this big circle, and then cool, open mic, basically. You want to talk about your struggles, your parents' sacrifices, family stuff that's very particular to the Asian American, Asian Western experience. That changed my life. I always quote that as like, that is why I'm here. That is why I do this, because I got to witness the power of that and seeing how people came together to be like, hey, look in my eyes. You know that I know what the feeling that you just talked about. Like, that's a different dimension of belonging that it gets me chills. I was telling John the other day, I cried in the car as I was like, it was like 30-minute drive, and I was just thinking about it. Oh man, I get to be a part of creating what I was blessed to experience in college through the Circle program. So yeah, it's just an honor to be here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I love what you're saying.
It's an honor to be part of the process, to be able to create the spaces in which we can create this type of work, right? Like, I think this is why it is that it is not about us being, like, we have all this knowledge, because it's truthfully, it's truly just that we went through it. That's really the biggest thing. Like, yes, I could quote certifications, and I have done this training, I spent years doing this, but like, truly, like, it's just that we've walked through what that feels like, and now we get to walk with you in going through your journey. And those moments where you see people coming out the other side, like, it isn't just about the breakdowns in those moments, but the breakthroughs people have. It's those like the emails we get on Monday mornings where people are like, I finally did this thing that I haven't been able to do for years. I finally connected with, like my wife and I had a deeper conversation, like I finally went after that job. I finally did, like, it's those massive moments of life-changing moments that we get to be a part of, that I'm just so grateful for.
Yeah. And I think for Asian people, actually what you were talking about for men, it's like, I'm ready to help. but I'm not willing to ask for help. I think that's a big part of what I see possible for the Asian people that come through this retreat. It's like, cool, you're a whole room of helpers. What happens when you allow each other to help each other? What kind of beauty can be created in your life? And legacy, as you're saying, that can like ripple forward in the generations.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? I'm excited to share more about this as we continue kind of developing over the next few weeks. For those who are, if you're, by the way, this is, again, if you're interested in this, check it out. I think we're running I think registration should have already started this coming week, or will be starting this coming week. We'll open it up for pre-registration this coming week if you're interested. Otherwise, if you're just interested in hearing more about this type of work, we're doing a mini series on this whole thing. So next time, Leo is going to share his journey on the show of how he comes to discover this and what changes he has made. And I've heard that there's some really powerful, deeper stories and some really fun stories as well as part of his journey. We're also going to have Amy, Colin, as well as all sorts of other people coming up in the show where I want to dive deeper into it. And I want to share a little bit more about some of the other funny moments of my own deep inner dive stories, of things that I tried the year where I had somebody throw, when I did radical honesty for a year, and that resulted in me having somebody throw a plate of spaghetti at my face. The year I prepared,
I'm excited for that one.
When I was doing breath work and, some embarrassing stories and some really powerful stories. So I'm hoping to share more of that as we continue on in this little mini deep dive. And as we go on into May, which is, of course, the Asian American AANHPI Heritage Month, and getting to share some really incredible stories as well on that side. Leo, it has been an absolute pleasure. I feel like actually I should be doing the other side. You should be telling me that, thanking me for coming on the show, but really you're coming on my show.
Well, I wanted to check in before we go, John. You host so much, that's a lot of output of energy. How are you feeling, just getting to like sit back a bit, just tell your story, and especially for the stories that you haven't told on the podcast before. That's a big deal.
Oh man. There's always kind of a nerve-wracking moment that you like when you share your own personal stories. Now I'm like, oh, this is what my guests feel like when I dive in and and demand that they tell me about their backstories. There's always an interesting moment where you're kind of like, oh, I'm putting that out there. But I will say, like, at this point, for me, I'm kind of like, everything that I went through is helped me become who I am today. And I'm, at this point, I'm like, I kind of like who I am today. So if this part of this journey, no matter how embarrassing or, ridiculous or heartbreaking it was at the time that I went through it, it's just another step in the sand of where it is that it's gotten me.
Well, thank you, John, for being on your own show.
And thank you, John, for being on my own show. Yeah, absolutely.
You put this together and everything, but yeah.
Dear listeners, and thank you for Leo for being on the show, of course. And as always, if you're new to the show, welcome. And I'm glad you chose this episode because this is probably my most personal story so far. And as always, we are here to support each other. So if there's something that you have discovered in my own, story, or something you've heard on the show that you felt like could help somebody else, make sure to send it to a friend or somebody you care about. As always, in our sign-offs, our motto is, when we rise together. So until next time, my friends.